Okay, so I was just successfully AFK at the raid farm here overnight, and I came back and there was a mess here at the minecart loading station. A whole bunch of minecarts were trapped over here for some reason. And, yeah, I had a ton of minecarts that I ended up somehow releasing and managed to get all these right here. So, I gotta figure out, I mean, the base level, I don't even know how many minecarts are stacked up over here. I'm pretty sure it's not 3. Maybe it is, but I feel like it's a bit more than that. So I gotta slowly send these on their way. After a bit of investigation, it would appear that the cause of this issue with the minecart is that these 2 chunk loaders here do not have any items remaining in them. They've all disappeared. And I'm not entirely sure why, so I guess we'll go to the nether and find out. Yes, this is not helping me at all. There is literally no items in this at all. Okay, I'm very confused as to where these items have gone or why they despawned. Okay, so right as I finished recording the clip, I saw I didn't put blocks above these droppers here, which means that items occasionally could escape to the top. And by occasionally, I mean very frequently. Well, semi-frequently, which caused them all to just completely disappear. So, yeah. Now I gotta go find items. Yay. Hey everyone, JSD Cool here, and welcome to another episode of Coolcraft Season 5. In the last episode, I built a raid farm, as you may have seen at the beginning of this episode, and also was able to now afford to do that intro where I got that advancement. In this episode, there is a bit of stuff that we have to do. First of all is restock this shop here, as it's quite low on stock, and yeah, so let's get doing that. Actually, before we do that, just check my all profits. Okay, yep, okay. A little bit more there. Alright, about 12 diamonds. That's nice. Well, that's a little bit sus. Oh, that's even more sus. That's not what I was intending to record here, but that works instead of clip. Anyhow, next up in this episode, after we restock the shop, is to actually make a brick crafting device, as we are going to need a lot of bricks for what we are doing later in this episode. So I've designed one here, and yeah, now we're just gonna go and build it. Alright, building completed, and it's, pretty small, pretty simple. The brick recipe is, after all, a pretty simple thing. Of course, I got a shulker box loader here at the bottom, and I got 12 shulker boxes of bricks here to craft. Actually, I just want to know, it does create 4 bricks, right? Yeah, creates 4 bricks. Okay, I was just wondering, because, if it creates more, then this thing ain't gonna work. But first up, place in the shulkers. Then come over here and give there an update. And there we go. Brick time, baby! I don't know why I said it like that, but yeah, you get the idea. Right, there we go. Pretty fast. Alright, then all the brick craft rating has been completed, and I've also gathered a few shulker boxes of glass, which will be necessary for the building that we're about to construct. So let's hop into a time lapse and get building. that took a little less time than I expected it to, which I guess is good. But yeah, as you can see, walls have been built. I mean, I probably included this stuff in the thumbnail, so it's probably not that much of a surprise. But yeah, these brick walls, and I know it's not necessarily the best idea to build with solid brick, but I have no ideas to texture this, and also I couldn't be bothered to actually do anything else for texturing, because that would require me gathering materials, putting more effort in during the building process, and I just couldn't be bothered. Solid brick works, and especially for the theme that I'm going for, because I've thought of kind of like a story behind this building, and also kind of, you know, the style I'm going for. So, first of all, the style I'm going for is kind of like this, early-ish industrial revolution era, where everything was just kind of built out of giant amounts of bricks, and giant windows as well. So, like, kind of like the style they have in Railroads Online with some of the industries there. Kind of what I was going for here. And also, I've come up with kind of like a backstory for this building. A bit of lore, if you will, in the series. So, and I can, you know, spill it to you right now. In the late 1800s, there was an industrial tycoon who was looking for a place to build this factory, and decided to build it out on this remote, desolate island that had nothing upon it. But it was pretty lush at the time. Now, his reasons for choosing this island in particular were that, so it's outside the range of any regulations, no safety standards therefore have to be followed, doesn't have to pay tax because there's nowhere near the government here, and yeah, can just exploit the workforce as much as possible. So, because of it, so they built this giant factory here, and it was used for a number of years, and this is why the island is covered in this purpley gray stuff covering the entire ground. It was once lush and green, but the pollution of the factory came and squandered all the fun. You can see that right over here, the wildlife is slowly starting to make a return, but it's going to take a little while longer. There's another little piece of wildlife there. And the only actual life that can exist on this island ever since the pollution came here was mushrooms and other fungus. And also apparently cows who became engrossed with that mushroom. See, I told you I had a plan for this backstory. After a while, the factory ended up closing down for a variety of reasons. Workers weren't willing to work here because of its unsafe and low pay, and they worked elsewhere, and eventually it just became unprofitable, and the factory closed down. Now, it was abandoned here on the island for a long time, until at some point in the mid-20th centuries, this place was bought by a mining company who went and drilled out this giant, mined out, whatever, this giant area underneath the island here in an attempt to start looking for various riches that exist underground. However, the mining company went bankrupt before they could get very far. As you can see, this is all they got done. And so, from that point on, this place sat abandoned until CBI, that is, Cool Bros Industries, came along and inhabited this island as the location for the central storage system of their crazy cool rail storage network, which is over here. And hence this wall over here, with the two windows that used to belong here, got knocked out so that we could fit the rails in here and also bring in all the extra large equipment and all that stuff that we needed for this project. See, I told you I had a backstory for this. Now, in terms of the story for this bump out here, it's not just because I needed to fit the redstone in here that was already here. No. You see, this is where, like right here specific, I'll build it eventually, is where the entrance to the factory initially was. I'll do something here, and there was a staircase or whatever that came down here, and then there was some sort of dock off this way where the boats could come in to bring in raw resources, take the finished products out, and of course transport any workers to or from the factory that were necessary. Now, however, obviously, it'd be very expensive to continuously ferry people back and forth from the shore to here and back, and also it's pretty far, so that would be a pretty long commute. So instead, what has happened is, I guess, somewhere up here, they built living quarters for the crew. Now, this would be horrible. Obviously, they're treating the crew terribly. Employees terribly. I mean, what do you take us for? Some sort of philanthropist? No. We're cold hard capitalists here. And so, of course, the staff lived on site and in terrible conditions at all times. They basically were owned by the factory management. Now, as for why there are plenty of large windows, of course they couldn't be asked to have electricity and electrical lights out here because, well, obviously we can't get grid power, we're in the middle of nowhere, and generating extra electricity for lighting would cost money to not only put in the lights and the wiring, but the actual fuel for those generators would cost extra money that we don't want to spend, so we'll just work by the daylight, and the workers can use candlelight at night in their living quarters. There, problem solved. Anyhow, I think that's enough of the backstory for now. Let's get on to the ceiling, shall we? Alright, this grid that I built on the ceiling here is finished. And I didn't say I was making it, but yeah, I made it. The purpose of this now, you might be wondering that I left a lot of holes in the ceiling. But the purpose of this is to make it much easier to actually fill in each of these boxes, and in theory make the ceiling a bit faster to create, or at least a bit more manageable for me to create. So basically, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do the following stuff here. I'm going to just fill in each of these boxes first with stripes like so. Then, once the stripes are finished, fill in the stripes to make the panel full. Now, in theory, this should be faster than just going like solid lines across, because I'm not going to be doing much crouching here. I'm just going to be quickly going side by side, pretty short, or not necessarily short, but small and manageable pieces. And bit by bit, we'll get this roof done. And, yeah. Oh, also, I should probably mention that. Yeah, it's also made out of bricks. I don't know. I'm building this entire thing out of brick because I have a lot of brick. I don't know if you've noticed. Okay, so, I'm just coming back to my base here after, being AFK overnight at a farm, and someone has, by someone I of course mean Tyler, considering he's the only one who's been on all night. So someone's placed buttons everywhere, which most likely have come from my storage system. Oh, and there's also phantoms. That's great! Oh no, they haven't. They didn't touch the 1.5 billion buttons that I already have. Great, great, great. Apparently there are a lot of buttons, and apparently he's offering a reward to get them all, but I flushed some of them down here, so I won't find them all. Alright, there we go. Just returning these to Tyler, and we're off. But let it be known that I will have my revenge in the next episode, because this episode's getting a bit long. And also, I'm getting really close to the date I want to release this. But anyhow, yeah, it's actually quite dark down here now that I built the roof. And, yeah, also, that time lapse was very boring. Sorry about that. I will try to not do that in the future. Anyhow, so yeah, I kind of want to go add in some lighting here. Because, you know, while the original, like, inhabitants of this factory may not have had various lights, electrical or not, that doesn't mean that I can't, because I now own this factory, and, also, I'm trying to make a video here, not just audio on a black background, so, yeah. Alright, that's a little bit of light placed down here, so now you should at least be able to see kind of what's going on in the video. Anyhow, the next thing that I have to do in this episode is something with the nether portal. As you can see, there's not really a good way for me to get from the nether portal down, or from down to the nether portal. So yeah, I'm gonna have to build something around this, which will look a little bit awkward, but no matter. Other than that, the other thing that we'll probably end up doing is actually building some smokestacks over here by the super smelter. So yeah, I guess I'll get to doing this part now. The surrounding for the nether portal has been built, and as you can see, it's more brick. This is the brick building. And yeah, so this is what it looks like from the outside. It looks okay, I guess. The lore for this building is that when the mining company owned this place, they built this little structure on top over here to act as a sort of lookout for ships, to better coordinate with the ships as they came in to bring crews and supplies in and out of the place here. And of course, this is where our nether portal is, because you know, there's a lot of other nether portals around here, so we want to make sure they sync up, so we kind of have to put it up here. But yeah, I just have this up and down stuff here to make it easy to get to and from the portal. So yeah, that's the nether portal. Alright, next up in this episode, I'm going to expand these floors out to the walls so that, well, yeah, there's not just like a gap to the underneath area all around the edge of the factory. So, yeah. The floor has been completed, as you can see, extending all the way to all the walls and all parts of the building. Floor is now mostly solid. Now, as for the smokestacks that I'm planning to build over here, those are going to have to wait for a later time, as I'm going to just have to say thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Check out my game, which is linked in the description, and I will see you all in the next episode of Coolcraft Season 5.